Hey, I'm Dan Adams. I'm editor-in-chief of IGN PC.
And I'm Doug Perry. I'm editor-in-chief of IGN Xbox and 360.
And we're here today to talk a little bit about Battle for Middle-earth 2. It's coming out on the 360, and generally, traditional RTSs like this haven't come out on the consoles. Most of the time you see games like Pikmin, Goblin Commander, and games like that because the technology and the control schemes hadn't really caught up to what a PC RTS, a traditionally PC RTS is all about.
Yeah, what's generally happened in the past is that publishers that publish games cross-platform on PC and consoles have thought, hey, let's bring a really cool RTS over to the console, and then they go, oh crap, that's going to take a really long time to map all that stuff, and so they usually just flounder it.
And one of the things that a lot of developers that I've talked to in the past, RTS developers in particular, have said about technology is that the consoles just didn't have the capabilities to bring all of these units on screen acting independently with their own AI. So now that these consoles are up to that capability and they have the capability to display HD signals, you really have the chance to bring these in full feature, and that's what we saw, and that's what we've got a chance to play. And from what we've seen, the controls actually work very well. They're not, I don't think you're going to get a game that works quite as well as they do on the PC, but for the most part, the controls are absolutely are wonderful.
Yeah, so basically if you look at all the other console RTSs, they've all been pretty much failures. Like nothing's really worked that well, enough to sell the game or enough to really want to play it. Mm-hmm. But this works on a number of levels. And what they've done is they've made a system where they actually get you to take a couple steps to get everything done. Not as few steps as on the PC, but close to the PC.
Yeah, they had to change the interface around a little bit. So now instead of, in the PC version, you'll see all of the spells and like the god powers over on the left, but those are kind of removed because you have to go through the regular interface from the console controller, and they removed like the heroes and special units down on the bottom. So now everything is compacted into the little Palantir, which is down on the left corner of the screen.
Right.
So that's where all of your interface takes place pretty much, aside from the cursor that's on the screen, like selecting units and stuff like that.
Right, you can use the right D-pad to select a number of items on the horizontal bar that comes up, and then you can also go up along the Palantir with little things like, bookmarks, checking your powers, going to your sort of heroes and whatnot.
Yeah, so for instance, in order to build a structure, which is obviously a big part of an RTS, you simply hold down a right trigger button and scroll along the thing with the right thing of the D-pad, and you'll get to the building that you want. You click A, and it'll actually bring it up on the screen, and then you can move it around with your analog stick and place it where you want it to go.
I think there's a pretty quick learning curve right from the beginning. Like you got it right away.
Yeah, I mean it's like from a player standpoint, as somebody who's been playing RTSs, the controls were actually pretty intuitive. You knew what everything was going to do. It's just a matter of like figuring out the map to get there, pretty much. So, just figuring out the combination of keys that required you to get there. And one of the great things they've done to actually facilitate like an easier way to do this is the D-pad, when you're not holding down the right trigger, actually acts as like quick hits to go to different things. So you can select stuff really quick and cycle through stuff really quick, and actually it helps you kind of acclimate yourself to an environment that you're used to having really short hotkeys on the keyboard and a really quick mouse. So they've actually done a pretty good job bringing over this quick feel from the PC onto the console.
So far, from what I can tell, it looks like generally moving a large army seems really easy.
Yeah.
When you actually want to micromanage a bunch of different guys, that becomes a little more challenging. And so, for instance, if you wanted to get, like, say, a shortcut, a shortcut takes not one step, but three.
Right.
So it's sort of a shortcut.
Yeah.
But I mean, considering what kind of interface you have on the 360 controller, it looks like they're doing a really good job. And compared to any other RTS I've seen on a console, this is by far the best one.
Yeah.
The other thing is that if this does well, I think a lot of other companies are going to look at it and say, oh, that's how they're doing it, and we're ready to go too.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked to a few developers recently for that State of the RTS feature I wrote a little while back, and almost all of them said, we're watching Battle for Middle-earth 2 to see how it does, because they're all looking at the consoles, like both Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, as definitely a much more viable platform to bring their games to, and obviously consoles are big business now. They make a lot of money, and these guys definitely want to capitalize on these next generation platforms.
So you think a lot of the PC RTSs that we normally see are actually going to be coming out on the consoles
Yeah,
in next year?
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot of them starting to trickle out. I don't think they're going to come out in a flood or anything, but you will start seeing them come out. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are kind of designed a little differently from the ground up. You know, EA did a good job actually, like, you know, they actually started the control system from the ground up and then decided it was good enough to bring in the PC single-player campaigns.
Right.
So that's what they did. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of, you know, developers actually starting like a new game in an existing franchise just for the consoles, but using very, you know, traditional RTS type roles.
We've had a lot of fun playing it. It looks like a pretty, you know, authentic recreation on the Xbox 360, and we're looking forward to it coming out this July.